What's up, guys? Coach Grant with First Down Training. And today we're going to be breaking down 3 tips for wide receivers to be unguardable. So these are 3 things that you may not know about route running. They're not like the kind of obvious ones like, hey, you need to sell vertical, hey, you need to sell fade on every route. These are kind of the more advanced side of things that are going to help you guys get separation in different coverage situations that you will face. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it teaches you a few things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you need to get better this offseason, you want to improve your route running, your press releases, your hands, everything that ties into a wide receiver's game, check out that very first link in the description below. We are traveling out to 6 more states across the country for 2-day-long quarterback and wide receiver training camps. So next, we're going to be coming out to Columbus, Ohio. Then we're going to Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas after, then Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California. So for 2 whole days, you could train with me, myself, and my staff of coaches. So if you guys are interested in that, you want to come out, get some work in with us, check out that very first link in the description below. We would love to have you out there. Let's get started. So first thing that's going to help you be unguardable is being able to use the field to your advantage. So you see all of this green grass right here where this wide receiver ran this fade route, and he had all of this space for this quarterback to fade him open. That is what I'm talking about when I say use the field to your advantage. Because at the end of the day, no matter what kind of coverage it is, no matter how tight the DB is, there is no defense for a perfect throw. If that quarterback puts the ball in the right spot, it's money every single time, whether I get open or whether I don't. But I want to make the job on the quarterback 10 times easier than what it needs to be. So I need to be able to use the field, right? So what this receiver's thought process is, right? I have an inside shade DB, and he's an off man, right? So that means he's like maybe about 7 yards off, 8 yards off, whatever it might be, right? So I know that his whole goal is to not give up the inside of the field. So, okay, that's fine. If he's not trying to give up the inside of the field, I have the outside of the field to work with, especially if I'm running a route like a fade, an out route, a comeback, a corner. Those are all outside breaking routes. But what a lot of people will do is they'll see this type of look off the line, and they might attack him a little bit, but they'll just go at his like outside shoulder. They'll just kind of stem him a tad and then run. And all that DB is going to do is get right into your hip and force you outside. So what my thought process needs to be if I'm running an out route, corner route, or fade is I need to attack his midline. I need to maybe even attack his inside shoulder. Because if we stem him to the inside, what is he told not to give up? He's not told to give up the inside. So guess what? I have all kinds of space for that quarterback to throw me open. So that's what this wide receiver does. He attacks him, he stems him, throws that cut to the inside, hips and shoulders, attacking the inside shoulder, and we get the DB to jump. Now he's got space from the hash all the way to that back pylon to accelerate and to get to the ball where that quarterback is or get to the spot where the quarterback is throwing it to. That's how you use the field. So now you might ask me, well, coach, how would I run a route like a post or a dig against this type of look? How do I use the field in that case? And you would kind of do it the opposite, right? So if you had to run like a post and you had this type of coverage, right? Where do we need to run? We need to run here, right? So we want to be able to have as much space to there as possible for that quarterback to make his job easy, right? So what a lot of people will do is that they think every situation is the same. They get this type of coverage and they'll stem to the inside, they'll attack the inside shoulder, and then they try to run this post. But the problem with that is when you stem, what's he going to do? He's going to weave. He's going to keep his leverage. So you're going to end up breaking that post off, and you're going to be running right into him, and that's a tough throw for that quarterback when that DB is over the top. So what do you think you want to do? You want to give yourself space for the quarterback to lead you to the throwing window. So you would want to attack his outside shoulder. So you could either come off and kind of change tempo, then go at his outside shoulder, or you could go outside shoulder right now. But the goal is to get him to flip his hips so we could slip under and use that field and have some space to run. So first thing that's going to make you an unguardable receiver to give yourself an easier time with the quarterback is to use the field, fellas. Use the open space that we have. Let's play this thing again, full speed. Great job of this wide receiver attacking that inside shoulder with that crossover, and then winning that route to the back pylon. So now, next clip I want to talk about here, this is going to be a slant route, okay? So now you got an outside shaded, a little bit, not a ton, but outside shaded DB, I would say, or maybe even head up. But he's going to be taking an inside release on a slant. So there's a couple different ways you could do a slant, and we're going to play this full speed, and then we'll talk about it. But the second thing that's going to help you be unguardable is getting skinny on your routes, okay? So let's play this full speed. So he gives hesitation move, gets skinny on the route, and breaks this thing off to create space. So let's talk about it, right? So if this DB, let's say, for example, he's outside shade, right? Outside shade or head up. What is he trying to take away? Trying to take away the outside. Very similar to what we just talked about, where that inside shade DB is trying to take away the inside. Wherever he's shaded, that's where he's trying to take away. So he's lined up outside shade, trying to take away the outside. So I want to attack him to the outside. I want to threaten him outside. He gives this kind of like hesitation move, a little head and shoulder fake to the outside, just to hold that DB there. So he's going to be able to get a free inside release. We want to take what the DB gives me, and we want to use the field, right? So now what a lot of people will do in this case is that they just run straight to the window. And that is what we do not want to do. Whether you're running a post route, whether you're running a corner route, a comeback, whatever it is, we have to get skinny and get hip to hip with the DB. So when he comes off of this slant, or when he comes off of this release and he has to run this slant, he very easily could have just ran to the inside right now. But when you take a wide angle like this and you don't get that DB to flip his hips vertical and you just kind of run off and drift, if you will, that makes it very easy on this DB to recover. But if I come off the line and I push up vertical and I'm actually threatening him with a fade route and I actually have some speed up to the break point, that can force him to flip his hips like so. And when I break this thing off, that's a much easier angle for me. DB is so dang hard because they are playing a guessing game and they are playing backwards pretty much the entire time. So if we can get skinny with a guy off of a release, imagine if he had to run a post route right here. He's here and he gets skinny like so and pushes straight up vertical. That DB has to open up his hips. So no matter what the route is, fellas, we have to make sure that we get skinny. And again, like let's say he had to run like a 10-yard out route and he did the same exact thing, took an inside release. If you get skinny and you go hip to hip with him, he's probably going to turn his hips and run with you, and when he turns and runs with you, you could break this thing off and slip back underneath. It's all about getting skinny and getting straight up vertical to get that DB to flip his hips. On every single release, on every single situation, my goal should be to get that DB to open up the gate, if you will, so I can create some space. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver using that hesitation move, getting skinny on the route, and then breaking it off to get plenty of separation on that slant. Okay, so now, last thing that is going to help you be an unguardable wide receiver is you have to focus on your stride length. So many wide receivers struggle with this because maybe they don't have like necessarily the leg strength or the knee stability or the ankle stability to make these types of cuts. And we talk heavily about that and talk a lot about drills to help you out with that. But we're going to use this example called the diamond release, right? So on that route that we talked about before, where you had inside shade coverage and you had to run a post, what was I saying you had to do? You had to attack the outside shoulder. The goal is to flip the DB's hips, slip back underneath. Same thing right now. This is going to be a slant route, but it's against like inside shaded press, if you will. So what we're doing is we're attacking the outside shoulder for 3 steps, trying to get him to open up the gate like we were talking about with getting skinny so he could slip back underneath. So let's play at full speed. So he does exactly that. He attacks outside, 1, 2, 3, gets the DB to flip, and you see the amount of separation he's able to create. Now, where this separation comes from, let me tell you this right now. A DB is always going to be watching where? Hips. But he's always going to be reading what? Your speed. So he's looking at your body language, but he's reading your speed. So a lot of wide receivers, they'll have good pad level. They sell vertical, quote unquote, as I love to say. But a lot of wide receivers don't know exactly what that means. They'll come up into a break, they'll come off the line, they'll go super fast. But what ends up happening is they're not elongating their strides. They think they're going fast, but they're chopping their strides. They're going very quick with their strides. They're not taking full strides. And guess what? When you're like, let's say you're racing a guy and he's striding out and he's taking 2 strides every 5 yards and you're taking 4, you might be pumping your arms faster and moving your feet faster, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going faster because you're taking choppy strides. You're not gaining any ground, and that doesn't sell vertical. If you're running a fade route and you're trying to run around a DB, how are you going to run? You're going to be in full stride, full speed. So that is what gets a DB to move. You have to understand that even if he's not thinking about that, like subconsciously, that's what forces him to have to move. Because you could commit all day with your hips, you could keep a good pad level, but if you don't go anywhere and you don't gain any ground and it's not fast, don't expect that guy to move because that guy will not move. So when he comes off the line here, you see what he does. It's full stride. 1, 2, 3. And he's able to put the brakes on that 3rd step. He's sudden. He's shooting that foot in the ground. He's absorbing the weight. That is what gets you open, fellas, on any route. If you're running a comeback route, those strides up into the comeback have to be long. They have to be fast. You're running, you got that inside shade guide, say the wide receiver's right here, and you got to run a post. You attack the outside shoulder. It's got to be full stride to that break point to get him to bail, and we slip under. It's all about keeping this stride, keeping a good pad level, and having good speed into the break. Now, to be able to cut going full stride, that's where you got to do some work, right? It's not, a beginner isn't going to be able to come out there and do this 15 yards downfield. Maybe you are, right? Maybe 5 yards, 3 step slant. Like that's fine. Like I guarantee you anybody could do that if they work at it enough. But being able to make these cuts downfield, that's why it's so important for wide receivers to work on leg strengthening exercise, a lot of one-legged exercises, ankle stability, knee stability, and work on those technical aspects and do the correct drills for that, because that is how it translates, fellas. A lot of people, like Devontae Adams said this a little while back, that like, oh, you should be training full routes. And what he meant, I think he cleared it up anyways, but he was saying that like, hey, once you're at a certain point, you shouldn't be doing, these fancy drills for Instagram, guys doing cone drills and all this crap that doesn't translate. That's what he was referring to. But if you can do realistic things to build your ankle stability, knee stability, one-legged strength, that all directly translates to route running, and that's how we become a much better route runner and get more separation, okay? So I'm going to play this thing full speed. So make sure, last thing, we just got to make sure I'm in full stride. I'm not chopping my stride because that DB is reading my speed, and he will sit on it if he needs to. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback from you guys. It's always great to hear from you guys. And fellas, if you want to come out and train with us, we're coming to 6 different locations for the remainder of this year. We're coming out to Columbus, Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Los Angeles. So check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.